Welcome. I definitely want to welcome our audience to this edition of Parents and Kids a live stream broadcast. Today we have a wonderful guest. We have with us Mr. Julian Rankin, and he is the Executive Director of the Walter Anderson Museum of Art on the coast. And welcome Julian. How are you? Well, this has been an eventful year for the Walter Anderson Museum of Art. You've had COVID, and then we've recently had a tropical depression. How are you weathering all this? Pardon the pun.
Other end of it in terms of the tropical storm over the weekend. And Walter Anderson's our example. He exhibited such resilience just as the coast does. So we're looking forward to brighter days ahead.
Well, that is great to hear. I know you, over the course of the COVID-19 closings and all, y'all have done a really remarkable job of working to achieve your mission. And we've been really impressed with some of your programs. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, we knew as soon as we had to close our doors in March that doesn't mean that the need for education and engagement stops. And so we immediately started developing what we call Art Plus. So this initiative that connects our collection to various fields of study. And so we've done a number of things. We have digital exhibitions and tutorials, yoga in the galleries. There's video segments that families can watch. And we have a whole dedicated portion of our website now. And part of our strategy was to think about this time of disruption as a way to develop these tools that can continue on into the future. So we always work closely with teachers and families, but we hope now that it becomes part of our muscle memory. So we continue to make more of these digital assets available for posterity and moving ahead.
Well, we commend you on that. They are top quality, and I know our audience has enjoyed those. We have a specific one that I want you to talk about, the children's tale, The Three Billy Goats Gruff.
Yeah, that was a fun one. So people know Walter Anderson for many things, but his block prints are some of his most popular and well-known depictions. And he was fascinated with folklore and myth and legend. And there's a book called The Magic Carpet, which collects the stories that go along with these block prints, and the Billy Goat's Gruff is one of them. So we did a reading of it in our galleries, and then we animated his block prints in kind of simple animations to create a more dynamic reading experience. So it's a pretty fun one, and that's always a wonderful story. I remember hearing that as a child. And these folklore stories, these oral traditions that are captured in these fairy tales are also the same things that Anderson was responding to by doing the illustrations. He really thought it was important for these archetypal stories to be shown, and he did it through his coastal lens. So it's a very fun video to watch, and we hope that people can appreciate and go check out those other tales that are collected in that volume.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, I would like to let us run that right now, just so our viewers can just see a sample of this great work y'all have.
Today I'm going to read you Three Billy Goats Gruff. This is from The Magic Carpet. Once there were 3 billy goat brothers whose names were Gruff. In the winter their home was in a valley where they fed on hay and lived quite comfortably in a large barn. Every year when spring came, they went up to the high mountain pastures where the grass was rich and green and the air cool and pleasant. To get there, they had to cross a bridge over a swift mountain stream, and one year it happened that just before they set out, a troll moved in under the bridge. A great ugly troll with eyes as round and big as dinner plates, and horns like a ram's, and a nose as long as a sausage. The youngest and littlest of the goats set out first from his fenced field through a deep wood of oak and pine trees, until he came to the bridge where, as his brothers had warned him, the troll now lived. When he came to the bridge, he hesitated a minute, and then over he went, trip, trap, like drumsticks on a drum. His little hooves beat a tattoo on the bridge. Ho ho, who is tripping over my bridge? Called the troll in a voice as deep and croaky as a bullfrog's. "Oh, it's only me, the littlest billy goat Gruff," said the little goat, "and I'm going up to the mountain pasture to eat the grass and make myself fat." "Well, here I come to gobble you up," roared the troll. "Oh no, please don't eat me," said the little goat, tripping along as fast as he could. "Wait a bit for my brother, the second billy goat Gruff. He's coming along behind me, and he's much bigger and fatter than I am." "Well, well," croaked the troll grumpily, "be off with you then, and don't come bother me any more." After a little while came the second billy goat Gruff through the woods, and then trip, trap over the bridge. "Who's that tripping over my bridge?" roared the troll in an even louder croak. "Oh, it's only me, the second billy goat Gruff, and I'm going up to the pasture on the mountainside to eat the tender green grass and make myself fat. Don't let me disturb you," he added. "I'll be off the bridge in a moment." "Not before I come and gobble you up," roared the troll, and he began to puff himself up and make him as ugly and fierce as he could. No, you don't want me," said the second billy goat Gruff. "I'm stringy and skinny as can be. Wait for my biggest brother, who is coming along behind me. He's much bigger and fatter than I am." "Oh, very well then," said the troll, "be off with you, and don't bother me any more." And then, right away, along came the biggest billy goat Gruff, who did not hesitate one moment when he got to the bridge. Trip, trap. He went over the bridge, and he was so heavy that the boards creaked and groaned under his weight. "Who is that tramping over my bridge?" roared the troll. "It is I, great big billy goat Gruff," shouted the goat, whose voice was as loud as a trumpet and made the timbers of the bridge shiver. "Well, I am coming to gobble you up," roared the troll. "Then come on up," the billy goat said. "Come and get me, here I am. You think you've met a battering ram." And when the troll came scrambling up from below the bridge, he lowered his head and charged like the battering ram he was, and poked the troll's eyes out with his horns and tossed him over the side of the bridge into the swift mountain stream. And the troll was never seen again. After that, great big billy goat Gruff climbed up the mountain to join his brothers. There the three billy goats got so fat that when winter came they could hardly manage to walk home again. Snip, snap, snout, my story's out. Julian, that is a really amazing thing. And you did that in-house with your staff?
Yeah, we did. We over the course of the first week or two, we churned out about 5 or 6 of these little videos of different kinds. Like I mentioned, yoga and connecting Anderson to science. And then we tried to connect them to standards, so educational standards. So if you were to go on our website and find that video on our Art Plus page, you'd also see a lesson plan that goes with it, and students and their caregivers can do a puppet show with these Walter Anderson figures that you see in the video itself.
I saw that. It's all perfectly packaged to be printed out and cut out, and the kids can play with it. It's a perfect little capsule. So that I'm sure parents are going to really like that. Would you remind us of your web address and what part of the website these things are on?
Yes, it's walterandersonmuseum.org. And if you go to our website, there's a couple ways to find it. It should be a button or a section of the homepage where you can just click on through to Art Plus. But also, if you hover over our education tab, there'll be a sub tab that'll pop right out, and that'll be Art Plus as well. And on that page, like I mentioned, it connects it to different fields of study. We've got one about science and history, literature. I mentioned the yoga one, and of course, we got the Billy Goat's Gruff for early childhood. And there's a whole library of lesson plans that's ever growing. So a lot of fun stuff on that page.
Well, it certainly looks like y'all had fun doing it because it's so well done. You can tell there was a good bit of enthusiasm behind it. And you started doing that as a response to COVID-19?
We did. That whole Art Plus brand, that initiative was launched, just immediately, essentially, when we had to close. And those first few weeks, I've heard this from other institutions, it was a very invigorating time. It was a disruptive time, but it felt like we needed to do something. And so that energy did produce a lot of that content on the front end. And then we've just kept it going. I know we're going to talk about some of our digital exhibitions and other things, but we started with those videos and really like I mentioned, tried to continue the momentum and try to think about what students need while we can't reach them. And so we've done I think a pretty good job, and I think all the museums have been doing a wonderful job of that.
Well, you can certainly see your staff's enthusiasm and dedication to what they do when you see products like this created in just a short span of time. Now, I know COVID-19 has disrupted a bunch, and I think, sadly, a group that's really lost out this year was our seniors of the class of 2020. They didn't get to walk. There were several alternative ceremonies and all, but I think proms got canceled, award ceremonies got canceled. So that was a big disappointment to that class. But every year, y'all have a senior art contest. Tell me a little bit about that and how you carry that on this year anyway.
Yeah, so we try to celebrate the artists in our midst at all corners and all turns, and we do a special show each year for the seniors. It's called our Senior Scholarship Show because there are scholarship contributions up for grabs, if you will, by winning students, and we put a call out every year and all over the state and beyond. There's no geographical limit per se, but most of the stuff is from Mississippi, as you'd imagine. So this year we knew we wouldn't be able to have this in the spring as we normally do at the museum. So we did a digital exhibition. There's a page unto itself, a whole website for this senior scholarship show, which is also available. If you want to navigate to the Art Plus page, you can find it there. And we announced 2 winners. There's dozens of artists represented, but 2 winners, both from Jackson, Mississippi, actually, were awarded scholarship contributions to college.
Well, that's an amazing program. And the art, there's 2 images. I believe we're going to be able to show graphics of these. One is the nature scene, and the other is a very striking scene with an African-American man being portrayed as being liberated. Can you talk about the 2 pictures, drawings, and why they were selected?
Sure. Well, we had a jury of coastal and regional artists, so I think they responded to these for obvious reasons, is that they're compelling and wonderfully rendered. But we'll talk about the winning piece, which is that whirlwind of nature, as you alluded to, all these different animals intertwined, and that was by Amari Funches from Power APAC in Jackson. And that, I think, is obviously redolent of Walter Anderson, because it very much is key to nature and ecology and diversity all intertwined. And that's part of what we ask students to submit, is work that has some connection to Walter Anderson. They also submit an essay along with it so that we can see a bit into their process and how they describe their work. So that one is quintessentially nature, and it's a beautiful work. And then the other piece that you alluded to, which is a hand reaching out and a young man and chains being broken, and that is by Desmond Young, also of Power APAC. And this work, again, it has nature in it, and this actually gets to something that I think is an important point to say, is that Walter Anderson, of course, depicted the beauty of nature, but he also depicted the southern land, and the southern land is a fraught place. And so, this is not as much about the animals. This is more about, I think, the underpinnings of the South, and you see the wheat coming through and the flowers growing. These are things that come up from the roots of our soil, the things that underpin our society. And so that also is very much about Walter Anderson too, just in a very different way.
Well, there on your website, there are also lots of other images from submissions. And so really, you could spend hours just trolling through it and looking at it. Are the essays available any place?
We didn't publish all of those. I mean, they were meant for for the jurors to be able to understand a bit into the window of the artist. But there was some great work. There's one quote from an Ocean Springs student that's on that page. We excerpted a quote there. But no, those are not available currently. It's something we will consider doing in the future. Hopefully, when we're able to get back in the rhythm of this, as I mentioned, maybe we'll publish a small catalog to go along with these in the future. So this idea of having multiple places to view it, either digitally or in person, or perhaps in print form, is something we're thinking about.
Well, I would love to see a catalog come out of it. These 2 winning images, are they going to be displayed at the museum eventually?
We're in contact with the artist. It's something we'd like to do. We don't have any definitive plans, but certainly, it would be a good way to showcase them in the museum once we're able to all gather together again.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to interrupt right now our normal flow of the conversation. We've got a few more topics to touch on because we've gotten a question from one of our audience members. And the question is, do you offer any online art classes appropriate for elementary school, preferably with simple art supplies generally available at home?
Yeah, so our summer camp, as you can imagine, this year was drastically changed. We had a full slate of in-person camps. As we speak now, we're actually doing our first virtual camp. So this week, there's about a dozen students who are participating in a virtual STEAM camp. So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics through the lens of art. And what we did there was we sent home a box with all kinds of materials in it that they would need for the week. And then we have an educator, Dr. Heather Montgomery, who's a teacher here on the coast, who's been leading 1 p.m. virtual live classroom sessions. And so this is our first experiment with this virtual model, but I anticipate that in the weeks to come, before we can all get together and have physical camps, which we might also do later in the summer, but there will be more virtual offerings for elementary school students. And this camp I'm mentioning now, that's actually ages 8 to 12. So please stay tuned and we'll try to bring those to you.
Okay, so people just need to visit your Facebook page and your website and just keep looking out for this because it looks like very likely y'all could do more.
Exactly.
Well, that I hope you're able to. I know parents right now, they're really relieved that they're no longer doing classroom lessons, but they're still looking for fun, enriching things for their kids. Now, is there anything else you wanted to talk about the STEAM workshop? Or do we,
No,
go on.
well, I will just say that it's been a fun process to build this virtual space for students, and they're doing all kinds of fun stuff with art and science, some of it with chemistry and other things with engineering and kind of computer aided AI design. So one of the other things I'll just tease is that we're working on a program. It's not yet live, but with the USM Marine Education Center, so the University of Southern Mississippi's Marine Education Center here on the coast. They wanted to do a camp for middle and high school students, and they're looking towards July, but we've partnered with them, and the hope is that that will be a camp free to everyone, that will be taking folks inside the museum, out to the barrier islands, in the kitchen of a James Beard nominated chef, and all around nature and food and science. So I'll just tease that, but the best way to get involved in all those things is just to follow our page or sign up for the emails.
Well, that is an unpleasant tease to hear and not know more details right now. That sounds like something adults would enjoy too.
That's also something we're thinking about. To be honest, we do know that we've had a great curator talk that was on via Zoom, via just a big meeting of all these different folks and of course adults. So it was kind of like grab a glass of wine and enjoy some Walter Anderson. But we want to go deeper than that. And if the Metropolitan Museum of Art is doing some of these things and wonderful things about fashion and the more edifying kind of cultural continuing education aspects. So we're actually building out some ideas for that too. So I know I'm just throwing teases at you, but we have something for high school kids coming with the Marine Education Center, and we have some things in the works for adults too.
Okay. Well, the Walter Anderson Museum of Art is doing a remarkable job right now. I can see you're working to connect with the community, locally and statewide and nationally through the website. I'm very impressed, and I know parents are very thankful for resources like these. There's only so much they can take before they need food for the brain. And I like the way you're talking about everything from yoga to cooking to marine science. You're taking all of the experience of South Mississippi and weaving it together.
Yeah, and Walter Anderson, if he was about anything, it was about interconnection.
Mm-hmm.
He believed that there was a mysticism to nature. There was, of course, this naturalism, this biology that people needed to appreciate and understand. But there were there was the food aspect. There were things that we needed to understand about the natural world, the perspective shifting qualities that could open our eyes to other things. And so we really try to connect the dots and connect disparate communities and oft siloed fields of study.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun thing to do, even in challenging times.
Well, it sounds like you're doing it very well. Let me ask you just a random question. Just in your opinion, was Walter Anderson just way ahead of his time?
I think he certainly was anachronistic. He didn't fit into his time. whether he was ahead or maybe he should have been born thousands of years earlier and been some kind of shaman. It's hard to say, but I think it's true that a lot of the things he talks about are very keenly felt in this modern world. He died in 1965 before we had smartphones, before we were so even more removed from nature. And he was talking about those very same things about modern life. The toll of modern life on him led him to the islands. So I think in that sense, the things he talks about being closer to nature, to look from nature, not at it, to look deeper at the things around us and appreciate our landscapes, that was a forward-thinking idea that the 21st century could certainly benefit from.
Well, I'm just thrilled that he's a Mississippian, so we can claim him forevermore. Now, he also had a lot of fun, whimsical elements in his art. There's one last piece I want to talk about that I believe is also on your website. It's his exhibition of cats.
Yes, everyone loves internet cats. So we wanted to bring our collection in conversation with the love of cats on the internet, basically. And so there's an exhibition called 9 Lives, Cats of Walter Anderson. And our curator did a wonderful job of pulling together, I think it's more than 65 cats of Walter Anderson's. And these are done at all periods of his life, from the 1920s all the way up into the 60s. And there's ceramics and work from college that he was doing, things that he painted in the zoo when he was in Philadelphia at the Pennsylvania Academy for Fine Arts. And then all the Shearwater work and the block prints and the murals. So it's a really cool way to see Walter Anderson's entire life. And for people who like cats, I mean, it's a whimsical show for sure, because there's some very cute and funny looking cats in there.
I think one of my favorites is that it looks like a wedding party with a bridal cat. And
yes,
that's just, I'm sorry, that's adorable.
That's the wedding of the cat princess, which is of course another piece of folklore. And so those were the block prints from that story, and they're pretty fun.
And would that be also in the Magic Carpet?
It is.
Okay, now is the Magic Carpet, that's a wonderful book. Is it still in print? Can we order it from you?
Yep. If you go into our website, you'll find it. And it's another wonderful publication of University Press of Mississippi. So it's in our store if you want to do some more reading.
Okay. Well, parents who are looking for just things to sit down and read with their children, and we advocate reading to children from birth till probably their senior citizenship. I feel like the spoken word, the read word aloud, is so important, especially for parents and children and caregivers to share. So we definitely recommend that book, The Magic Carpet. Right now, other than recapping your web address, is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience?
No, obviously, we're here to serve the community. So, the one thing I'll say is through all of this, we hope to come out stronger, and we've always been committed to public service. And this has allowed us to connect with communities that aren't on the coast, which is something we're always excited about doing. So we just wish everyone the best and hope that they can be creative as well during this time. And we look forward to seeing them soon.
Well, Julian, thank you for taking time out of your day to talk to us. We so appreciate everything you're doing for families in Mississippi, and wish you well in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.